You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome, everyone, to the show. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Kirk.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, hi, hello, all those good things. Good to be here.
Always good to be here.
Okay, well, welcome. I'm so excited that both of you are here. I'm excited to be here. I get to start us off this week, so buckle up. So, story time.
Boy. Do I need to tie my shoelaces real tight? You're gonna blow my socks clean off?
I would say that you two actually know a bit about what I'm talking about this week.
Interesting.
Okay.
So this is something that I don't think is unfamiliar. This is something that is absolutely in our neck of the woods. It is in all across North America, but really in the woods is where they like to be. Anyway, so story time.
Intriguing. All right,
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Go for it.
So last summer, the past couple summers, but we're going to mostly focus on last summer. One of the kids I had for camp ended up being really interested in insects. Now, listeners, Victoria, Kirk, you both know I love a good insect. They're always really fun.
Sure.
They bring me great joy. This was an older camper, so we were really able to get a little more technical, and we're finding all sorts of insects all over. We were doing a lot of observations, as well as like taking a look and seeing what we notice about the different insects, looking closely to see what we could tell to help identify the different insects and see the different families, as well as help deciphering where it would go in the absolute mess that is taxonomy. Anyway.
Gotcha.
So this older the camp I was originally with, this camper was for older kids with an interest in potentially becoming naturalists. And one of the things that we did was we had the kids do a short presentation on something, because as naturalists, one of the things that we often are doing is presenting in front of groups. That's literally how we do things. We're teaching something to people. That's the job. So me and my fellow naturalists all did short presentations as examples, so that way the kids could see and they could prepare at least something, have an idea about it. Obviously, a few of the kids hated that. It's a work in progress. There was no shame. Anyway, so for my presentation, what I did was I brought out my jar of dead bugs that I have at my desk. You know, as you do.
Nice.
You know, when you put it that way, it just sounds real strange, Rachel.
Picturing like squashed flies and stuff.
They're
I'm
not
picturing
squashed.
like
They're
a
all
mason
pretty...
jar just full of like
It's
hundreds
smaller
of
than a
dead
mason
insects you picked
jar.
up.
It's smaller than a mason
Okay.
jar, and none of them are squished.
And you haven't been busy.
No, I have not. Well, I'm particular about the species that I collect, okay? Now, I have a few really cool bugs in there, and I haven't had the time or knowledge previously on how to preserve them necessarily. So I will say that this jar just has dead bugs in it. So it kind of smells of death.
So it literally is just
a literal jar
gross
of dead
jar
bugs.
of dead.
But they're really cool
Rachel.
bugs. It's fine. I have some
Rachel.
cool moths in there, and I've got like a bunch of cicadas and at least one cicada exuvia, which is the shed, which is really cool. Anyway, so this one camper, they got really interested in insects. I actually had in a different camp. So then she shared, was like, oh, naturalist Miss Rachel has a dead bug jar, and got the other kids invested and started bringing me other insects for the jar. And she actually started to just, it was mostly
Dead or alive?
They were dead. Mostly cicadas, actually. And I was like, okay, I don't need 8 cicadas in this jar that is tiny. Yeah, so I was able to bring that out again, and they were able to see some really cool insects up close. But the insect that I have in this jar that I am the most proud of is actually a rather unique insect in the giant scheme of things. It is the Megarissa macaruus.
Sounds like a dessert.
Oh, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh,
Very large
jeez.
dessert.
Or the giant Ichneumon wasp.
There it is.
There
yeah.
it is. I
Those
have
are so cool.
They are very cool, and I happen to have a female giant Ichneumon wasp. Okay, and that's what I want to talk about today. Now,
Nice.
the adult of the giant Ichneumon wasp, for those of you who don't know and don't see these often, is probably one of the scariest looking insects you'll ever find. It is a wasp, so
Like,
it
is
terrifying.
nightmare fuel.
It
Oh
absolutely
yeah, it looks
is.
absolutely terrifying.
It will not sting you. It won't hurt you. It actually is an important pollinator, but we'll get into it.
Totally
So-
harmless. Looks like something out of Alien.
Absolutely. Well, for some things it is out of Alien. So
Fair.
it's got, like every insect, it's got 3 body parts with a narrow waist connecting the abdomen and thorax, as is indicative of a wasp, is that really narrow waist. And then it has like these thin, transparent, dragonfly-esque wings that may or may not have some brown patterning on them. That there's 4 wings for them, so 2 sets. And then their abdomen has what looks like 7 segments, but it's not quite actual segments. It's just a really long abdomen that curves.
Yeah.
And it's really long and thin, and the abdomen itself actually
It's
doubles
really long.
the size of the insect, and the female is the really
Yeah.
big one. The female's body can be about 2 inches long, or 5 centimeters. So that's just the body. This is all followed by what looks like the longest stinger on the planet. I think it actually is one of the longer, like, ovipositors in the world. And
Right.
Yes.
it looks like it's going to pierce through your entire arm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, depending on how thick your arm is, it probably could, but it won't. This stinger-looking thing is comprised of 3 different parts, and it can be over 3 inches long or 7 to 8 centimeters long. So it looks
Again, longer than the animal itself, its
Yes.
body. Like
it looks
crazy looking.
awful. It looks absolutely terrible, and that is actually an ovipositor. So that is what females use
Yeah.
to lay eggs. Now, we are familiar with ovipositors on this show. This is not a unusual thing on this particular podcast. However, the female is able, with those antennae, she's able to feel the vibrations of the larva of the wood-boring insects inside the tree. So she can
That's
sense
just
That is
the
amazing.
vibrations
So
As-
crazy.
through the tree with her antenna. In addition, she can tell with her antenna different chemical signals in the wood that tells her
Oh.
that
Oh,
there
wow.
is a potential host in the tree.
That is cool.
And then what ends up happening is she takes the ovipositor and she literally drills into the tree and guides her ovipositor without being able to see, just using vibrations and the chemical signals that she's getting towards the host larva to lay either on or near that little larva her egg, so it has something to eat.
See, now this is where knowledge is a little dangerous because you first see one of these Ichneumon wasps and you're like, oh my gosh, they look terrifying. And then someone says, no, it's okay. Like they don't sting people, you know, they're going for insects. It's fine. And then you learn that 3-inch long ovipositor can pierce through wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your
It's
arm would be
three
nothing.
different parts. And the really cool... So
How
there's
do
two
they do
pieces.
that?
It's like a mechanism that they have. It's three different parts that works towards like making a small hole in there. It's so detailed that I don't have the time to get into it. But what's really
Unreal.
cool is they are able, so they drill into the tree, right? And then they are
Yeah.
able to withdraw their ovipositor. It doesn't get dropped or anything in the tree. They withdraw it out, and it actually can like curl up partially in their abdomen, and it makes it like a transparent kind of thing. It's so cool. It's wild. I'll try to share a picture if I can find one for us. And this process can take either minutes or it can take hours, depending on
interesting.
how dense
Okay.
the tree is, how far
Sure.
away the host is, as well as how dense that host larva might be. This is where I get to brag that I've actually seen an Ichneumon wasp piercing a tree. And it
I
is
have
as
video of it
cool-
somewhere.
Oh, yeah. It's as cool as you
Yeah.
think it is. It looks wild. It's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I stumbled across Ichneumon wasp again, and it's almost summertime, so they are going to be out and about around July and August in most of North America, especially in woods and such. They're so cool. Keep an eye out for them. They tend to be, their bodies are either like black or they have brown and yellow on them. They vary a little bit in coloration, but they look really cool. So that's what I got for you both this week. My sources are Wikipedia, Wasp World, the Missouri Department of Conservation, and an amazing website that is called What's That Bug, which I just think is hilarious.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
All right. We're back. Have I got a story for you?
Oh, I'm
Ooh,
excited.
ready.
All right. We're going to go to Fruta. Fruta is a small city of about 13,000 people in western Colorado.
Okay.
It's on the traditional lands of the Ute people. And as you might guess by the creative naming, early white settlement was by fruit farmers.
Uh-huh. I was like, where's the fruit,
All right.
Victoria?
All right,
Yeah.
there it is.
Uh-huh.
I've never been there. It sounds very pleasant. Especially if you're into outdoor recreation, there's lots of opportunities for hiking, biking, birding, water sports, golf hunting, all that stuff. Some notable dinosaur fossils have been found nearby, so it's a great place for
Nice.
paleontologists too, or just fossil
Cool.
hounds. That's all fine and good. But there's one thing that makes Fruta absolutely unique, and that is that it is the home of the annual Mike the Headless Chicken Festival.
The what?
Nice.
Mike the
That
Headless
is
Chicken.
amazing.
You heard me.
I'm very familiar with Mike the Headless Chicken.
I am not familiar with Mike the Headless Chicken. Please go on.
It does not surprise me that you have heard of Mike the Headless Chicken, Kirk.
That feels like
I've got
something
a
Kirk
little
would know.
well, and I'll also say it now. My I've know about this story from beforehand, but one of the funny things is this past season, my wife is the coach of a FIRST robotics team, and my kid is on that same team, and they had their team has sort of a chicken themed name, and their robot this year during one of the competitions was essentially beheaded. They're like,
Oh my gosh.
their ball
no.
shooter broke off the top, and they were dragging it around behind them on the tournament floor, and so the kids ended up dubbing the robot Mike the Headless Chicken.
Perfect.
Of course.
Perfect.
Why would you not?
All right.
Phenomenal.
Well, for those who don't know, Mike the Headless
Yeah.
Chicken was a chicken that achieved nationwide fame in the late 1940s due to his notable lack of a head and also notable aliveness. The story of Mike begins in September 1945 on the farm of Lloyd Olson of Fruta. Like many families who had the land available to them, the Olsons raised chickens for meat and eggs, partially in order to supplement their wartime ration books.
Okay.
And Mike was a 5-month-old white rooster when he was selected for dinner on that fateful September day. Farmer Lloyd raised his axe and brought it down rather clumsily, removing most of Mike's head, but crucially leaving behind part of the back of the head.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So
Oh.
you may have heard the phrase running around like a chicken with its head cut off.
Yeah.
And this is because normally after a chicken's head is fully cut off, it may move its legs and flap its wings for up to a minute. Actual running probably uncommon, but this is due to leftover nerve impulses in the spinal cord that cause the muscles to contract. And the heart can also continue to beat for a very short time after the head is cut off. But clearly something different was happening in Mike's case because Mike continued to walk around, albeit a bit unsteadily, and also he didn't bleed out.
Yeah.
Apparently a clot or clots blocked off crucial vessels to prevent Mike bleeding to death.
Huh.
But
Okay.
how about the head, the missing head? Well, it seems Lloyd's clumsy axe stroke missed some important parts of the brain, in particular the brain stem, which controls basic body functions like heartbeat, breathing, and digestion.
I'm going to come out and say that he needs to be better. If you're going to kill a chicken, like, you missed.
I mean, if
but
it's moving
you missed
around and stuff,
big
this
guy.
can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but you missed pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It also seems likely, since Mike was still able to walk around with some coordination, that his cerebellum was also spared, or at least most of it. Mike also retained one ear.
This was really bad.
So much.
Well,
Okay.
a
It's not
chicken's
totally headless. Nearly
chicken's
headless.
brain
Mike.
is actually
Exactly.
like much further back in its skull than you might expect if you look at a diagram
Sure, that's
of
fair.
a chicken's head.
Well, yeah, but if you are going to like chop the head off of
Yeah.
a chicken, you aim for the neck, not for
Yeah,
the
you should-
skull.
You should be aiming for the neck. It was a real miss.
Yeah.
So yeah, with the skull being farther back than it is, like a lot of the front of a chicken's face is beak and sinus cavities and stuff, and not brain. So this makes more sense than it seems like at first. Well, what happened next? When Lloyd realized that Mike was not dead, he decided to try to help him survive, and he and his wife Clara started feeding Mike through his lopped off esophagus.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they would give him milk mixed with water from an eyedropper, and apparently they would also feed him some corn, maybe like ground up cornbread, I'm guessing, and worms. They also used a syringe to help Mike clear his airway of mucus, which he was unable to do himself.
Ew.
Gross.
Interestingly, Mike still attempted to behave in typical chicken behaviors, such as pecking and preening, although obviously without success due to his severe lack of a
head.
beak.
Yikes. Yeah.
The rooster also apparently attempted to crow, although it really came out more as a kind of a sad gurgling noise.
Oh, that's unpleasant.
Yeah.
That is unpleasant to know.
I could sort of
That's
almost
sad.
imagine it in
Me
a
too.
horrible way. So once word got out, first to the neighbors and then to a widening circle of interest about this headless chicken and seemingly miraculous survival, there was demand to see him, and Lloyd and Clara wound up taking him out on the sideshow circuit. He had write-ups also in national publications like Time and Life. Sadly, Mike's story came to an end due to his disabilities and some mistakes. In March of 1947, the Olsons were staying in a motel in Phoenix, and in the middle of the night, Mike started choking on some mucus. But the Olsons realized to their horror that they had accidentally left all their syringes at the last sideshow stop.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
So Mike choked to
Poor
death,
Mike.
having survived 18 months without his head.
That's impressive.
Yeah. It is.
Sad, but impressive.
And as I mentioned at the beginning of the story, Mike is still remembered and celebrated today in Fruta with the Mike the Headless Chicken Festival, which is held in late May, probably around the time this episode is coming out, in fact.
Excellent.
Oh, phenomenal.
Events at the festival include a 5K race, a pancake breakfast, car show, chicken show, wing and peep eating contest. For those of our international listeners, peeps are a marshmallow candy that's often shaped like a chick. And
Important distinction there.
finally, yes. Finally, yes, a group chicken dance to close out the festivities.
Phenomenal. What a great way to go. I would love to be a part of that, actually. I want to go. Can we go to Fruta, everybody?
Maybe next year.
That'd be
go.
fun. At this another weird tie-in with the robotics thing, as the team this year got to go to nationals not nationals to worlds, like they were part of the world championship, and so I got to go, and there was like tens of thousands of people there, 600 high school teams, and we're standing in the bleachers, and the chicken dance songs come on, and we all jump up and start doing the chicken dance, and some of the teams just sat there, and I was looking around going, do you guys not know the chicken dance? And I can understand maybe some international teams might not know the chicken dance.
Sure.
But
Right.
there was like local teams to the U.S. that didn't know it. And I'm wondering, how is the chicken dance not like universal across? Listeners, here's what I need to do.
I think
Let me know-
younger listeners, it's starting, or younger folks, it's starting to go out of fashion.
Not become a thing.
Yeah.
Write in contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com or comment on it's like the Podbean app. Like, let us know. Do you know what the chicken dance is?
Without
Or is
Googling
this-
it.
Yeah. Or
Yes.
is this a mystery? I want to know, and I want to poll our audience. Do you know what the chicken dance is? And if not, you're like, what on earth are you talking about? Answer the question, and then you can Google it if you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we get, let's see, what's a good number? If
Oh
we
my
get
gosh.
30 comments, we'll all get together and or
We will do a
30
chicken
overall,
dance.
we will do a chicken dance. We'll do
Yeah.
a video
Chicken
of
dance.
us doing the chicken dance.
There you go. But
All right.
we need 30 people to write in and let us know, do you know what the chicken dance is? Do you have that where you are? I'm excited.
This is
Well,
gonna be so
Get ready
good.
for that video.
Mike, to just wrap things up here, Mike is a testament to the amazing ability of animals to survive what might be considered a life-ending injury, and is a scientific curiosity. I got information this week from Wikipedia, from an article in Live Science, and from the website of Mike the Headless Chicken Festival, which is MikeTheHeadlessChicken.org, in case you want to check it out.
Amazing.
I love that.
We are going to take a break, and when we come back, it'll be Kirk.
Yay! This week's episode is brought to you by the Society of Strange. That's what we call our patrons over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Society members directly support the show they love, and depending on their level of support, get fun perks such as bonus content on select shows, insider photos, water bottle stickers, and here's a big one: every level of support gets every episode 100% ad-free. Come join the other lovers of the show, help keep this strange show going, and get those ad-free episodes. We'll see you all over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I recently talked here on the show about the tree of Tenere, I believe, or Tenere, sorry,
Yeah.
Tenere, yeah.
and which is in the Sahara Desert. Well, today I'm returning back to the Sahara for another intriguing tale. I had to jump
Desert's
jump
got
back
you,
here. I got to jump back here to North America for a moment. We're in the middle of spring bird migration. Actually, this morning was
Oh, it was so exciting.
bonkers.
It was so
Bonkers.
good.
So many warblers in the
I
trees.
saw
just
some birds that I was dumb and didn't bring binoculars outside, but I did.
That was the
even I
craziest
got
thing
to-
about it.
Yeah, but I still got to see some really cool birds. I saw a bird that Kirk didn't get to see. Ha ha.
Ooh.
It's true. So we're in the middle of that, and it's pretty exciting. I'm not at all bitter on dipping out on that one bird. And a lot of these species are migrating all the way from South America to here where we are in North America. And
Right.
you can do that by flying over land completely, if you choose to fly over the land. But a lot of birds choose to fly directly over the Gulf of Mexico, which is about 1,000 miles, or that's 1,600 in non-crazy units, kilometers over water. And that is
That
one
is
of the most impressive
bonkers.
barriers to migration that we have here in North America. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
it's completely avoidable. You could kind of hopscotch
over
through
land.
the Caribbean islands, or you could go completely over land by going to Mexico. But it is, it's
Longer.
further. So some birds will just fly nonstop for 1,000 miles, which is super cool. And when it comes to birds migrating to Europe out of the south, from the south out of Africa, a similar challenge is not. They do have to cross the Mediterranean. That's a whole other thing. But the other challenge they have is you have to cross the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
And depending on where
Yeah.
birds cross, it's between 1,500 and 2,000 kilometers. And in crazy units, that's 900 to 1,200 miles. So
Comparable.
this
yeah.
is, pretty comparable, which I thought was really interesting when I was looking up the numbers. So one of the things about the Sahara is that there's no food. There's actually no food in either location. But at least in the desert, if you need to, you can stop, right? You
Yeah.
can just land
You
and
can
catch your
sit
breath.
Down.
Yeah, you can't do that when you're crossing the Gulf there, unless you land on an oil rig or a boat, which absolutely does happen for some of these birds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we used to think that birds cross the Sahara in one nonstop marathon, just like they do when they cross the Gulf. But we've actually got some new research that is showing that they take breaks during the day, kind of like you might suspect they would, and they're mostly just migrating at night. So nightingales, we know, will fly about 450 kilometers per night, and it takes
Oh,
them
wow.
about three days to make the crossing because they're stopping during the day. You don't want to be flying around during the daytime.
That sounds like a bad decision to
Well-
fly in the middle of a desert during the day.
Oh yeah, no, that would not be the great decision. Taking the break is the good decision.
Taking a break, solid idea.
But there is no food. There's no water to drink while they're resting. So the birds must fully fuel up for the journey before they cross the desert, just like birds that are crossing, the Gulf or something like some other large barrier elsewhere in the world. So
Right.
they definitely do still need to really bulk up because you can land, that's all well and good, but you still need to have the fuel. So this raises actually a really interesting question. Imagine for a minute that you are a brand new bird, like the aforementioned nightingale, and you were born in Europe in the spring, and you now start heading south with no knowledge that the Sahara even exists.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case, how do you know that you need to stop and massively fuel up before heading across this 2,000 kilometer wide desert that you don't know exists?
I
Well-
mean, are you migrating by yourself?
See, that's a great question. So, this idea that maybe you're going to follow other birds is one of the first things I thought you might think about. And because this is the thing that birds will do. They will basically, they know the drill. They learned it from their parents who learned it from their parents and so on. And we certainly know that some species of birds learn migration routes from their parents and just older birds in general. So this seems completely plausible. But you'll notice I keep on specifically calling out nightingales as my example in this. And I'm doing that for a reason. They're a really interesting species to study for this sort of thing because they migrate alone. They don't form flocks, which means when a young bird sets out across the desert, it isn't following anything but its instinct. Now, if you have listened to this podcast for a while, you may know that that's a word that I kind of hate. I don't like the word instinct.
No, you hate that word.
It serves a function, and that function is to be intellectually lazy. If we don't understand how an animal does something, we just kind of wave our hands and say, oh, it's instinct, as though that absolves us from any obligation to explain it or do any kind of inquiry. Sure. It means that they are not learning how to do the thing, but the implication may be that the knowledge is just like innate and ununderstandable, which is frankly nonsense. Like there is some way they are doing this. Well, luckily, a team of researchers in Sweden agree with me. And so this week I want to talk about their research with nightingales crossing the Sahara Desert.
Okay. All right.
So this research team, was composed of Thorad Fransson of the Swedish Museum of Natural History in Stockholm and his colleagues. And they suspected that there was a very interesting environmental clue that was telling nightingales to stop and fatten up before crossing the desert. And that seems pretty reasonable, right? So
you start seeing sand, maybe?
Yeah, well, I mean, during a typical migration, just like your average bird might add about 20% to their total body weight in fat reserves to deal with just moving a lot, right? But before crossing the desert, the nightingales binge even more heavily and they double their body weight.
Oh, whoa.
And so something has to be triggering this behavior. So what the team did is they captured young nightingales that were about to set off on migration for the first time, and they gave these birds access to food and measured how much they ate and how much weight they put on. Now, keep in mind this research was done in Sweden.
Sure.
And they wanted to mimic one specific condition found in Egypt. There's lots of things they could have chosen, right? Like they could have chosen the height of the sun, right? Or the amount of sunlight, like how long the day was. They could have looked at smells or landmarks, positions of the moon or the stars. There's a lot of variables to consider that are different between Sweden and Egypt.
The wind. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like there's many things, and we know that birds pay attention to all these things, so it could have been any of them. In this case, the variable they chose to change, however, was the magnetic field of the Earth.
Oh.
Well, that's,
okay.
Why not?
I should say, it's not the magnetic field of the entire Earth. That would take a really,
that sounds,
really big magnet.
That would be a little hard to change.
Yeah, we would have noticed. We would have noticed here if they had changed the magnetic field of the Earth. They chose to change the captive bird's perception of the magnetic field of the Earth.
Okay.
Some of the birds were put into a special box that was then placed into a large coil of wire that could mimic changes to the magnetic field of the bird that the birds experience as they migrate. Half of the birds were used as a control in this experiment. They were kept in, essentially the same boxes with access to the same food, but the magnetic field was not changed for them, and so they felt like they were still in Sweden. And what happened was fascinating. For the birds that were in this altered, magnetic field, they experienced what wild birds would if they went for a 6-day trip through northern Egypt, hopping to 4 different locations. And the birds that perceived they were in the magnetic fields of Egypt gained 3 grams of weight, while the control birds that felt they were still in Sweden only gained 1 gram of weight. So that kind of corresponds with what we would expect to see in terms of birds that are fattening up just to kind of leave Sweden, or birds that were fattening up because they're about to cross a giant desert. And, that may not seem like a huge change, but the birds, that thought they were about to cross the desert gained 3 times more weight, and these birds only weigh about 20 grams total. So it's not very much.
Yeah.
Now, like any good research, this one actually just raises new questions. One we should always ask is, does it show what we think it shows? So will birds respond to any change in a magnetic field? Like, were they responding to thinking they were in Egypt, or would making them think they went north or east or west? Would that work too? That's something that could be pretty easily be tested. And this team actually, this study's a little bit older. They have gone on to test a whole lot of factors, since this.
Awesome.
But assuming this is actually Yeah, assuming this is actually the birds responding to thinking they're in northern Egypt, then it actually brings up a question of, okay, but like, how do they know the magnetic field has changed? And how does that make them eat more? We don't just want to chalk it up to like instinct again, right? So more tests.
Where can they sense the magnetic field of the earth?
Exactly. More tests need to be done. We've talked about that on the show, even some of the things that have been done about can the birds actually, they think some birds can see magnetic fields with their eyes. Some of them are sensing it maybe in their beak. Like there's a number of different ways, and it may not be universal for all birds in terms of how they experience the magnetic fields. But we really need to understand more how animals sense magnetic fields, how those fields can trigger behavioral and physiological changes. This is actually a strange and active field of research that I'm sure we're going to talk about on the show a whole bunch more as other examples come up, because this is definitely a ripe area for some really cool studies. If you think about it in big picture, we live on a giant magnet. And so it should be no surprise that many animals that live here and have lived here for a long time would come to use magnetic fields to inform their view of the world. Now, the study I cited was in the journal Nature back in 2001, and it was called Magnetic Cues Trigger Extensive Refueling. And I will say, like I mentioned earlier, the same team of researchers has continued their study over the years and have refined their ideas. So if you're curious about this, there are many more studies from this same group, and they continue to this day to explore this idea about how magnetic fields are affecting birds feeding and crossing the Sahara Desert.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. That's
Thanks,
what I have
Kirk.
for you. And it brings us to the end of our show.
Oh.
I know, but I got great news. There are 275 shows previous to this that you can binge if you've missed them. And
That's true.
perhaps even better, we'll be back next week.
Yes, we will.
Oh, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.